3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Suit Soldier Podcast, everybody. I've got a really exciting episode for you today. I don't know if you remember the conversation I had with Mike Waldron back from 23rd Veteran, but if you're curious, he was episode 49. So go back into the archives, check that out, and hear his story on 23rd Veteran. One that I found particularly interesting in the episode involved a caveman. So really, it's super interesting. Check it out. And today, I've actually got a few folks with me who were part of the most recent 23rd Veteran Recon program. And as you all know, this show is all about the evolution of the self, right? It's how do we go from being a military person, whatever our MOS was, and becoming something more and evolving and growing as a person. So how do we reinvent ourselves? So I wanted to carve out some special time today to allow them to share their story and really give their experience with the program and how they changed along the way. So without wasting any more time, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. Just to calibrate everybody that's listening in today, why don't we go ahead and do some quick introductions with who we've got on the call here.
Hi, my name is Josh Hawkins. I was in the 101st Airborne, 3rd Brigade Infantryman. And this is my little girl, Cora.
My name is Logan Bouch. I'm the gym owner. I own CrossFit Northeast, CrossFit Linden Hills, which is where we did the program, and AQ Fit Lab in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And I'm Tom Nathy. I am the civilian volunteer. I was fortunate enough to attend the full recon. I went out to North Carolina with these guys from week 1.
Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate that. And one of the things we were talking about a little bit ago is how you got involved, which I thought was pretty cool, how you all kind of came together. But one thing I'm curious about is why you chose to get involved. So really, what was your reasoning, right? I know, like, Logan, you said that Mike reached out to you, and you're kind of like, I don't know, it's a cold call. And I feel you, man. I don't usually take cold calls, but he said he got you hooked a little bit. So I'm just curious, what was it that really drew you in? Why did you say to yourself, you know what, I am going to get involved with 23rd Veteran?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I stayed on the phone initially was I heard the word veteran. I have a soft spot in my heart for the veteran community and anyone who has served in any way. Both my father and my grandfather served. I did not. I've always looked for ways to give back. And up until this point in my life, there wasn't anything that I saw that was just a great fit for my skill set. Being able to help other people, and this just seemed like an awesome fit. You know, being able to take the intensity of what we do and watch it change people's brain chemistry. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then Tom, I know you said it was a flyer, right? You saw a flyer that was kind of asking for assistance with the program. Is that what drew you in? And what kind of got you to stick around and really kind of go through the full program?
Yeah, well, the flyer was for a Nearly Naked Ruck March, so it was advertising for the Nearly Naked Ruck March, and that intrigued me, and I went into the website for 23rd Veteran and then spent a lot of time on the website just reading everything that was on the website. And the thing that intrigued me about 23rd was the whole brain chemistry. In stressful situations, your mind or your brain creates these chemicals. It doesn't matter if you're in combat or going through a stressful workout at the gym. It's the same chemicals. And the fact that Mike's program reconditions the mind to, associate the good memories with those chemicals and replace some of the bad memories, to me, it seemed like a no-brainer. And for me, I never served either. When it was my time, or when I was young enough, I guess, to serve, it never was on my radar. And now, being older and appreciating what it is that the veterans and the active duty military men and women do to preserve our freedoms, this, like Logan, it's my way to give back. So I really wasn't, I wasn't there when it was my turn, but I'm here for everybody now.
Yeah, I can definitely appreciate that, Josh. I'm sure you can as well. And I'm curious. So one of the things when Mike and I were talking, he blew me away. I didn't realize how scientific this approach that 23rd Veteran is, and when he started talking about BDNF and all, the brain-derived neurotropic factor stuff, I was like, holy crap, who is this dude? I thought he was just getting vets to go work out. It's really, really deep, and I can understand why. after hearing that explanation from him, it takes so much time. So I'm curious, like for you, Josh, what kind of drew you in? Like, why did you decide, okay, this is going to be like a time commitment, and I'm really going to have to give some focused energy to this? What was it that really convinced you, like, all right, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm going to stick with this and really fight through it?
So for me, it wasn't really what I was thinking about doing for myself. I know for the first couple of years I was home, I was kind of a hard guy to live with. And I couldn't look at my daughters and my wife and, like, sorry, I try not to choke up when I think about this. I believe that they deserved better than what I was giving, but I didn't know how to get there. I knew I wanted it, but every time I turned around, I was still just kind of being an ass. And
Sure.
I saw this flyer on Facebook, or ad on Facebook, and it was about 23rd, and I didn't have a veteran group of friends up here. I just moved here from Kansas, and I see this, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. Let's see what happens. You know, maybe at least if I'm around other veterans, maybe I'll kind of even out. And it was so much more than that.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm just curious, what were you doing at Riley? Kansas? Were you down at Riley?
No, I was stationed at Fort Campbell in Kentucky.
Okay.
But I'm from Kansas originally, and after I got out of the service, I moved back to my hometown. But my daughters were getting older, and my brothers and sisters started having children, and I wanted my girls to grow up with their cousins, so we moved to Minnesota. That and for the better education system.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. One of the things I was just curious, because I saw Mike had mentioned a couple times, and then I saw in some of our email correspondence, he was talking about a playbook. Or do you guys know what I'm talking about? The playbook. So what? Just real quick, just for the good of the listeners here, what is that? What exactly is the playbook? What was the role that it, no pun intended, what role did it play in the program?
Well, it was a guideline. It not only did it give us a homework type of a thing, it gave us like the workout routines and what we were supposed to do each time, so we knew what we were supposed to do, and it gave us homework assignments that we could then take home and think, what are we grateful for? Let's do something nice for somebody in the community. We got a really good guideline.
Mm-hmm. And everybody, obviously you all three played a different role in the program, but everybody had a playbook?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of helped us all to
interesting.
be on the same page. Everybody was, like you said, had a role to play, but we were all working off the same playbook.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Now, I'm curious, was it this is for any of you, was it easier harder in the beginning to fit, things like gratefulness, for example? I don't think, unless somebody tells you to, it's not something that many people often practice. They're thinking about like, oh, I'm thankful for this. It's not something that we think about every day. So I'm curious, throughout the program, was that a challenge in the beginning, coming up with the answers to the questions in the playbook, and then did it become easier, or kind of walk me through that a little bit?
I know for me at first, it was easy to find something to be mad about, to be angry about, to not be happy, but it was a struggle to find this thing. Well, what went good? What was a positive thing today that happened? But the more I did it, the easier it became, and the happier I got, knowing that I was looking for something. Because like I said, you can find a million reasons to be mad.
Yeah.
And happiness is not something that comes easy. So you got to find a reason, find a way to get it or earn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me it was, in the beginning, it was a little tough, to think about things you're grateful for, because that's not something we're usually thinking about. But as the program went on, for me, you're always trying to find these big, huge things that you're grateful for. Well, just be grateful for the fact that you got up another day, and it forces the mind to be thankful. And like Josh says, the negative or the bad things just kind of melt away when you start focusing on the positive.
Yeah, I think for me, what got easier. It was tough the whole time to sit and do your gratefuls, but what got easier was kind of like what Tom said, remembering it doesn't have to be super deep. Mm-hmm. You don't have to find the deepest, darkest, most meaningful thing that you're grateful for each day. It's either waking up or getting to work safely, or just simple stuff that we take for granted.
The snow falling down.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you guys said that, because I think it's a really important point to bring up. And to everybody listening, I just need to reiterate the point that gratefulness is not this, like, you don't have to be a Zen master to be grateful for things.
Right.
You don't have to have some deep philosophical explanation for all the reasons that you're happy in your life. It can be as simple as, I woke up. I've got, a roof over my head. I've got these people around me that love me, that care about me. Geez, when you guys came together initially, it was a matter of strangers coming together and saying, we have the common ground of just caring about our fellow man. And I think that's an incredible thing to be grateful for. So, and I just appreciate the comment that it doesn't have to be deep, because I agree. It can be something that's really pretty simple. But kind of along that line, I'm curious, was it challenging in the beginning, because you were all strangers and you were all coming together, from different angles and different perspectives? Did you find it hard, or maybe Josh, you maybe found it hard to open up to, people that were not veterans, or Tom, Logan, did you guys struggle kind of relating to people in the program, or kind of how did you grow over time? How did you feel like you grew, or maybe the changes that you experienced along the way?
Well, I had the benefit of knowing these guys from day one, basically. The night before we left, we have the kickoff meeting down in Minneapolis, and then we all stayed at the hotel, and then got up dark 30, got to the airport. So for me, I knew this program was for the veterans, and I'm being a civilian. I'm not in the background, but I'm just watching and just kind of learning as we go. And by the time the week in the mountains was over, I felt like one of the group. And in fact, the vets even mentioned that they had forgotten I was a civilian. So just that time to bond in the mountains, doing the hard things, you become, a family. And I understand, in the military how and why they do the hard things, because to become a cohesive group, you do hard things. And when you're that close, doing the gratefuls, it becomes more natural. It's not so much, I don't know you, I don't want to expose my deep feelings. It's no, we're family here. So it was really nice for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I came into the group a week after they had already been together and gone through quite a bit of challenge with each other and built some bonds. I was actually surprised at how quickly that awkwardness went away. After the first 5-10 minutes of class, these guys were certainly all riffing off each other and having fun, goofing off a little here and there. But yeah, it didn't take long at all. So I don't think it was that big of a challenge to open up to each other, and maybe it was just the group. The personalities were all pretty open personalities. At least that's the way it felt to me.
Yeah.
For me, starting out, I knew that the majority of the people that I was going to be with were other veterans, and that was my safe harbor with other veterans, because I knew that if I was having a bad day, I didn't necessarily have to explain why I was having a bad day, and not have, I always felt like people looked at me like I was nuts if I explained why I was really having a bad day. But I knew there was going to be one civilian, like I said, like Tom mentioned, but I didn't, we didn't really know much about Tom. But once we actually got in the mountains and started doing our thing, he carried just as much weight, if not more. He worked just as hard to do the same things that we were doing, and he didn't check out and go, well, this isn't my responsibility, this isn't my thing, I don't have to be here. He rolled right in with the rest of us. And then, coming to the gym, we all just kind of, it was like, how's this gonna work? We didn't know, are the coaches gonna act like, like a senior platoon sergeant or something like that, just screaming at us, or how's it? Yeah,
Just like that.
That was a really good example.
But it became just something to look forward to every day. Okay, if it's a Tuesday, I know I don't work out Tuesday night, but hey, I have Wednesday, I'm gonna be doing something Wednesday, and it was an accountability to the group to try to keep moving forward. And like I said, the awkwardness and the weirdness of it all, if it was there at all, it wasn't very long.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it really proves the point that there's no such thing as too much perspective, and you can take a group of people who have, different reasons for doing something, different whys, different backgrounds and experiences, and come together and create something fantastic. Because there's no denying the benefit that these recon programs are for everybody involved. I mean, it's easy to see just talking to you. So I think that's it's important to have these varying perspectives, and I can see why they play off one another, and you can feed the strengths. And one of the things that came top of mind for me is this idea of, like Josh, you were saying that Tom didn't have to do some of the things that he was doing, but he chose to anyways. And it's I think, what is it? There's a Latin expression, sua sponte. It means of my own volition. Like they just are choosing to do something, and the power behind doing something because you want to, not because you're told to, is powerful. So you all just deciding, I'm going to go after this 23rd veteran thing, see what it's all about, and just doing that of your own volition, I think definitely benefited you in the long run. I don't mean to derail here, but I'm dying to know, because Mike said it a couple of times. So somebody broke their leg in a mountain somewhere. You guys keep talking about like when you were up at okay, so you broke your leg. My first question is which leg? I could take a guess.
Right.
And how did that happen? Because it's been brought up a handful of times.
Sure. So I trained really, really hard for this trip because I didn't want to be the anchor that was holding everybody back. I was already at a disadvantage being an amputee, or at least I felt I was. So I would go to the Mall of America every day and walk 8, 9, 10 laps, which one lap around any ring of the mall around the outside is 1.25 miles, roughly 1.15 miles. And so we got to the mountains. I'd blown the hydraulics out of my out of the knee, and so they gave me a loaner, which is the same type of knee I was using. And about day 4, we were coming down the top of the chimneys, getting ready to head over towards Table Rock, and it was just pouring rain on us, and I hear this pop. My leg had been creaking for a couple of days, and that was, in the past, had been because the socket had gotten loose, like the carbon fiber was getting loose. And I couldn't see it right away because I had on this heavy rain gear. And I heard this really loud pop, and I fell backwards. I started trying to stand up, and I had nothing to stand on. It kept buckling backwards, and I was sitting here just thinking, great, I broke my leg, and I let out a really loud, I broke my effing leg. And I looked back, and our senior guide, Anthony, which was just pale white. And then I quickly realized, oh crap, he thinks I broke my bones or something. I was like, my fake one, and then even still, he just kind of sat there, just kind of stunned for a minute. But one of the other instructors, I believe it was Nate.
Nate, yep.
Nate stepped up and he started saying, okay, well, let's try to get the pack off and everything. And we were about 200 meters down this cliff when it popped and broke, and the next thing I know is I'm kind of, they're helping me up. We're trying to half carry me up the side of the mountain, and not as awkward as the first time I was ever brought off a mountain, but we got to a roadway. They brought a truck from the base camp for the program, and they brought me back to the camp. But I was terrified. I thought I was going home. Started crying a little bit because I hated the idea that I was letting people down. Mm-hmm. All I could think about was the guys that were still out there, sucking it up in the rain, trying to carry on. Now they've got the extra food weight and stuff from my pack that they've got to now move around. And they threw most of my ruck in the back of the truck, but they needed the food that I had in my ruck. But I got back to the camp, and I got my leg off, saw how badly it had broken, was able to call my wife, because that's one of the things about the program out there, was there was no technology. You weren't allowed a cell phone, anything. So I was able to call my wife and let her know what happened, so she could get the ball rolling back here, so I could get my wheelchair or something to meet me at the airport. And they offered to let me stay in the cabins. There was a bed and, you know, a heater, a real toilet, a roof. But I kept coming back to that thought that the rest of the people were still out there in the rain, still out there sucking it up, you know, under tarps. And I was able to find a set of crutches, and I finished the last 2 days on the trail on crutches.
Good night. That's incredible. That's incredible. Well, good on you. It's, I mean, that's good stuff. I'm curious from maybe Tom, from your perspective. So after he had to get taken out and just, you know, recollect himself, as it were, what happened with the rest of you? Kind of where was your head at, having to watch him, you know, get carried off in a truck for a bit? How did that leave you and the rest of the team?
Right, and just kind of set the stage a little bit. This was day 4, and that night beforehand, it started raining at about 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And the shelters that they have, they're not really tents, they're just shelters. So it's a tarp over a string, and it sleeps 4 people. And I remember waking up when it started raining and opened my eyes up, and the tarp was right by my face. And all the water, you know, it was wet. So everybody's getting soaked. It's dark, you know, it's 1:30 in the morning. So that morning, everything's wet. Everybody's tired. It's day 4. We're tired. We're hungry. We're soaked. It's cold. It's 40 degrees. 40 degrees in the rain. It's cold. So we go down the trail. We were supposed to go rock climbing that day, but we opted not to. So they're heading us back to base camp, and like we're going down the mountain, Josh breaks his leg, and it was just one of those oh crap moments, you know. Everybody's coming together. We got together. We got him back up the mountain. Now, mind you, it's slippery. It's muddy. It's raining. We're all in our rain gear, and nobody's got, you know, a good handle on anything. Everything's slippery. But we got him back up to the truck. They got him back to base camp, and after it happens, you know, the truck leaves. We're all just sitting around, or I'm just sitting around, going, "Holy crap! What just happened?" You know, we're worried about him. You know, he's obviously emotional because, you know, he just broke his leg. He wants to finish this thing just like everybody else. And one of the other veterans who was with me, standing next to me, he says, "Tom, that's probably the closest you're going to get to a Kazovac." And that just hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like, holy crap, you're right. You know, man down, get him out. He's back, he's safe. But the whole time, we had about another, 2 miles maybe back to camp?
Roughly.
And it's still raining. We're all still cold. We're wet. We put our packs back on. We're tired. We're hungry. And the whole time back, that thought just goes through my head. Like, where's Josh? What's he doing? And at the same time, I'm trying to put myself in the position of being deployed, carrying a rifle, having people shoot at us, wanting to kill us, and then still having to process all of this stuff about where is he, what's going on. So from a civilian perspective, that was probably the most invaluable thing that happened on that trip. It gave me a little peek into the window of what it's like to be A, active duty and being deployed in a combat zone, and then B, you know, being a veteran and having that not to deal with, but yeah, you have to deal with that. That happens, and you have to process that, and you have to move forward. But the best part of that day was when Josh came back, and the mood of the camp just, you know, up tenfold. And one of the other veterans who was also deployed to Afghanistan said the best part of that day was Josh coming back, because when he was deployed, when guys leave the mountain, they don't come back. And to me, again, another hit me like a ton of bricks moment. It's like, holy cow. So from a civilian perspective, being on this trip was probably, it was the best use of my volunteer time that I have done in my life. I mean, like I said, I didn't get to serve when it was my turn, and it's just my way of giving back, if you will, and saying thank you. You know, a lot of people say thank you. I wanted to go a step further. I wanted to prove my thank you. So I wanted to go out and be with these guys and help them in whatever they're struggling with.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So then I guess it begs the question really for everybody, then, what now, right? So when officially was graduation from the program?
Saturday, February 2.
Saturday on February the 2nd. Okay, so then now what's next, I suppose? Like how are you going to be moving forward? Obviously, you're graduated now, you're going to get back to normal life, but how is normal life different now than it was before the program?
So I'm actually, I used to be terrified of things like the unknown. What's going to happen? Can I plan for it? I'd have backup plans for backup plans.
Yeah.
And I don't have that feeling anymore where I'm afraid of that. I'm actually looking forward to the unknown, knowing that I can actually roll with it and handle it. Looking forward to keep working out. I'm looking forward to staying around 23rd and helping out the next generation of veterans coming through. That's probably one of the biggest things for me that I'm looking forward to. I keep hearing this story in my head of a soldier stuck in a hole, and first sergeant said, dig the hole, so the soldier digs the hole. Can't get out. Captain comes by, says, sir, I can't get out. Can you help me out? Well, first sergeant said, dig the hole, here's a bucket, keep digging. It'll help you dig it better. It's getting pretty dark and the soldier can't see, so he sees a psychiatrist walk by. Psychiatrist sits down with him, talks for a while, hands us some pills and says, well, you'll be fine, and the pills work for a little bit, and the pills run out. But he's still stuck in the hole. And he sees another soldier walking by. And before the first soldier says anything, because at this point he's basically giving up, the second soldier jumps in. And the first soldier says, dude, what are you doing now? You're stuck here with me. And the second soldier says, don't worry, man, I've been here before. I know how to get out. I want to be the guy that jumps in the hole. Because choking up. I know what it's like to be stuck in that hole and feel like you're never getting out, to not see anything but the darkness around you. And that's what this program is it's a way out of all that. It doesn't put a pretty Band-Aid on it and pretend like it's fine. It's a real way out.
Mm-hmm. And I think for me, going forward, my wife is a veteran. She was Air Force. She deployed in the first Desert Storm. And our daughter, 16, she's going to be, going to college here in a couple of years. And this 23rd veteran opportunity is perfect timing for both of us. We both volunteered our time at the St. Cloud Ruck March. And during the day, she made the comment, she said, I feel like I'm back in. And just being around a bunch of veterans and a bunch of active duties. They came down from Fort Ripley for the Ruck March as well. And just the camaraderie, the fraternity, if you will, and just the vibe that was given off, she felt like she was back in. And I fed off that too. I want to be a part of that. Like I said, for the third, fourth time here, I didn't get to serve, and a part of me just wants to say thank you, and I want to prove my thank you by continuing to help these people. And being a part of the 23rd Veteran and volunteering and helping out and being like Josh, wanting to help other veterans who are struggling, I believe this PTSD is treatable without pharmaceuticals. I think we can get there. 100%. This program, like Josh said, it works. I've seen it firsthand where the guys in the mountain, you just basically, their guard goes down. They're not on edge all the time. And I get that. I mean, when you're in an environment where if you don't stay on edge, people will die, that takes a toll. And it was nice to see firsthand how this program helps vets.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Logan? How's that, from a gym owner perspective, where does this leave you having come out of the program?
Well, we want to do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
We want to host as many of these as we can. But personally, it affected me. I think I probably expected this, and it definitely happened. As you just meet everybody, you hear a little bit more about them. Because of the way the program's structured, you don't hear their war stories. You don't hear what happened to them but you hear what they're going through. And it helps me on a daily basis just have a little more perspective that everyone who you come in contact with is probably going through something, or has gone through something, or is or loves someone who's going through something. It may not be military related, it may not be necessarily trauma, but it's just a little added perspective to give people a little more slack on a daily basis. I'm pretty quick to judge people when they irritate me, and this program has helped soften a few edges for me as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy to hear the benefit just across the different experiences and perspectives, yet the common benefit that everybody's found. So before we start wrapping up, I do want to ask you one more, because obviously this is something that there are people that aren't here that support, right? There are other people supporting 23rd Veteran that that aren't on this call right now. So just for a moment, we'll go kind of around the group here. I'd love to hear from all three of you. Just pretend that somebody's listening right now. They're a donor, maybe they're a fundraiser. There's somebody that wants to. They're deciding whether or not they want to be involved. That's helped pay for you, helped pay for the team, helped make this all happen. What would you want to say to those people that helped make 23rd Veteran become what it is?
I think for me, I wanted to say, thank you. Thank you for caring. Thank you for showing that you care. 100%, this is an absolute life-changing program. I can't say where I would be in my life if I hadn't experienced this. I would still be stuck in that hole, stuck in that darkness. To be able to go out and do things that I wasn't able to do before. My wife and I went to the Mall of America not long after New Year's, absolutely slammed. And when we got back to the vehicle, I got in my Jeep and my wife goes, "Are you okay?" Because she saw that I had a worried look on my face, and I said, I didn't freak out. She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "No, I didn't freak out." It felt weird to me that I didn't have an emotional panic reaction to being absolutely surrounded by people. I felt okay, and that was so abnormal for me to feel okay that it became abnormal. So I was just 100%. It's a life-altering, life-changing thing, and it's for the better. So thank you for that. Thanks, baby.
Yeah, I would say for anybody who's thinking about getting involved in any way, whether it's time or money or in any way that they can provide any help, there's a lot that goes into putting stuff like this together, and Mike has his hands full and then some overflowing. So anybody who can do anything to help contribute in any way, there's a lot that goes into making things like this happen. So if you're thinking about it, do it.
Somebody wants a snack.
Oh, okay. Go get her fed.
You want a snack? Just a second, baby.
I think for me, like Josh said, thank you. You really don't know how much you impact somebody's life until you care for them. And by caring, you're donating your time, your money, your time, talent, treasure. Like Josh said, this program works. I mean, from a civilian perspective, I don't have the full, military perspective on things, but I've seen it work. I know it works, and listening to Josh and the other vets who went through the program, they are 100% on board with the program, and it works. So it's a way, like I said, for me to give back to the vets by volunteering and getting involved here. So if there's anybody out there who, like me, who didn't take advantage of the opportunity to serve when it was their time, this is an opportunity to say thank you and prove your thank you, and it works. I'm excited about the program. I'm excited about the possibilities, and thank you very much. You've impacted the lives of the 12 folks who went on that trip. There's 12 people out there whose lives are better now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And to everybody listening, really, if you want to get involved, if you want to hear more about it, I'll of course have all the links in the show notes, because this is a really good thing. I'd love to see this grow. I'd love to see more and more people get involved. So I will say I'm a big believer the service takes a lot of different forms. So I really want to thank all of you for your service. Josh, your service is appreciated. My brother, I appreciate everything you do. And Logan, you and Tom, you too. Thank you for your service. If you are making the world a better place and you are doing your part to uplift your community and your fellow man, then to me it goes a long, long way. So all three of you, thank you very much for your service.
You're welcome.
And thank you for sharing your story today with the 23rd Veteran and everything that you guys have been doing. So I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity.